Performance-based assessment. Performance-based assessment implies productive, observable skills such as speaking and writing of content-valid tasks. Such performance usually real-world tasks that students have had time to develop. Penilaian berdasarkan kinerja menyeratkan keterampilan yang produktif dan dapat diamati seperti kemampuan speaking atau bicara dan writing atau menulis. Performance ini atau penilaian berdasarkan kinerja dari siswa biasanya menggunakan seperti tugas-tugas yang dapat diaplikasikan pada kehidupan nyata, di mana murid-murid dapat mempunyai waktu untuk mengembangkan diri mereka. The following are characteristics of performance assessment. First, 1. Students make a constructed response. 2. They engage in higher order thinking with open-ended tasks. 3. Tasks are meaningful, engaging, and authentic. 4. Tasks call for the integration of language skills. 5. Both process and product are assessed. 6. Depth of a student's mastery is emphasized over breadth. Jadi, berikut ciri-ciri performance-based atau penilaian berdasarkan kinerja, yaitu pertama, siswa membuat tanggapan yang terkonstruksi. Kedua, mereka terlibat dalam pemikiran tingkat tinggi dengan tugas-tugas yang terbuka. Ketiga, tugas itu bermakna, menarik, dan otentik. Yang empat, tugas membutuhkan integrasi keterampilan bahasa. Kelima, proses dan produk sama-sama dinilai. Yang keenam, kedalaman penguasaan siswa ditekankan pada keluasan. Performance-based assessment needs to be approached with caution. This implies that teachers should, first, state the overall goal of the performance. 2. Specify the objectives or criteria of the performance in detail. 3. Prepare students for performance in stepwise progressions. 4. Use a reliable evaluation form, checklist, or rating sheet. 5. Treat performances as opportunities for giving feedback and provide that feedback systematically. And 6. Utilize self and peer assessment judiciously. Penilaian berbasis kinerja ini perlu dilakukan dengan hati-hati. Hal ini menyeratkan bahwa guru harus pertama menyebutkan tujuan keseluruhan dari tes tersebut. Yang kedua, tentukan tujuan atau kriteria kinerja secara terinci. Yang ketiga, mempersiapkan siswa untuk kinerja dalam perkembangan bertahap. Yang keempat, gunakan formulir evaluasi, daftar periksa atau lembar penilaian yang handal. Kelima, perlakukan penampilan sebagai kesempatan untuk memberi umpan balik dan berikan pula umpan balik itu secara sistematis. Yang keenam, guru harus bisa memanfaatkan penilaian diri dan penilaian dari rekan dengan cara yang bijaksana.
The next slide, I will explain about guidelines for self and peers assessment and a taxonomy of self and peers assessment. First, I will explain about guidelines for self and peers assessment. Self and peers assessment are among the best possible formative types of assessment and possible the most rewarding. But they must be carefully designed and administered for them to reach their potential. And therefore, guidelines will help teachers bring this intrinsically motivating tasks into the classroom successfully. First, tell students the purpose of the assessment. Self-assessment is a process that many students, especially those in traditional educational systems, will initially find quite uncomfortable. They need to be sold on the concept. It is therefore essential that you carefully analyze the need that will be met in offering both self and peer assessment opportunities, and then convey this information to students. Next, define the task clearly. Make sure the students know exactly what they are supposed to do. If you are offering a rating set or a questionnaire, the task is not complex, but an open-ended journal entry called Leave Student Perplexed about what to write. Vigilance and model will be of great help in clarifying the procedure. Next, encourage impartial evaluation of performance or ability. One of the greatest drawbacks to self-assessment is the threat of subjective. By showing students the advantage of honest, objective opinion, you can maximize the beneficial aspect of self-assessment. Clear assessment criteria can go a long way toward encouraging objectivity. And last, ensure beneficial aspect through follow-up tasks. It is not and the last, ensure beneficial aspect through follow-up tasks. It is not enough to simple to choose a self-checklist at student and then walk away. Systematic follow-up can be accomplished through further self-analysis, journal reflection, written feedback from the teacher, conferencing with the teacher, purposeful goal setting by the student, or any combination of the above. The next material is a taxonomy of self and peers assessment. To sum up the possibilities for self and peers assessment, it is helpful to consider a variety of tasks within each of the four skills. Four skills in self and peers assessment is listening tasks, speaking tasks, reading tasks, and writing tasks. First skill is listening tasks. Listening task is can listening to TV or radio broadcast and checking comprehension with a partner, and listening to an academic lecture and checking yourself on a quiz of the content. Second skill is speaking tasks, using peers checklists and questionnaires and writing someone's oral presentation. Next, reading tasks. Reading passage will self-check comprehension question following and talking vocabulary quizzes. And the last, writing tasks. Revising written work on your own or with a peer or peer editing and proofreading. In Table 10.1 offers a broad estimate of the extent to which the alternative to assessment in this chapter measure up to basic principle of assessment. In pairs or small group, each assigned to one of the six alternatives.
The next is self and peer assessment. In these moments, I want to tell you about 5 types of self and peer assessments. The first is direct assessment of performance. The second is indirect assessment of competence. The third is metacognitive assessment. The fourth is assessment of socio-affective factors. And then the last is student self-generated test. Next, the first point is direct assessment of performance. In this part, students typically monitors himself or herself in either oral or written production and renders some kind of evaluation of performance. The evaluation takes place immediately or very soon after the performance. The students or peers fills out a checklist that rates performance on a defined scale, or perhaps the students views a video recorded lecture and completes a self-corrected comprehension quiz. Jadi direct assessment of performance di sini adalah suatu penilaian langsung dari performance. Langsung di sini maksudnya adalah sesegera mungkin setelah performance. And then there's a lot of media opens up a number of possibilities for self and peer assessment beyond the classroom. Internet sites offer many self-correcting quizzes and tests. a learner can access the quiz in the internet and then comes the result of their own assessment. Jadi, ada banyak media yang menawarkan kuis atau tes untuk mengoreksi diri sendiri. Banyak situs online seperti Devs ESL, di mana seorang pelajar dapat mengakses kuis grammar, kemudian akan keluar hasil dari tes tersebut. And then the second point, indirect assessment of competence. Indirect self and peer assessment is not confined to score rating sheets and questionnaire. You can look the picture. This is a picture by Phillips. He created a questionnaire through which his students evaluated themselves on their class participation. Jadi itu adalah gambar dari Phillips. Phillips membuat kuesioner mengenai partisipasi kelas. Mereka menyelesaikan kuesioner di tengah semester untuk mengidentifikasi kelemahan dan juga mendapatkan goal di sisa semester tersebut. And then next is third point, metacognitive assessment for setting goals. Personal goal setting has the advantage of fostering intrinsic motivation and of providing learners with the extra special impetus from having set and accomplished one's own goals. Jadi, pengaturan tujuan pribadi memiliki keuntungan dalam meningkatkan motivasi intrinsik dan juga memberikan dorongan ekstra khusus kepada para pelajar karena telah mencapai tujuan mereka sendiri. And then the next is socioactive assessment. Another type of self and peer assessments comes in the form of methods of examining affective factors in learning. When learners resolve to assess and improve motivation, to gauge and lower their own anxiety, define mental or emotional obstacle to learning, and then plan to overcome those barriers, an all-important socio-affective domain is invoked. And then the last point is students-generated tests. A vital type of assessment that is not usually classified strictly as self or peer assessment is the technique of engaging students in the process of constructing tests themselves. Murphy successfully employed the technique of directing students to generate their own list of words, grammatical concepts, and content that they think are important over the course of a unit. The list is synthesized by Murphy into a list for review, and all items on the test come from the list. Thank you.
Portfolios, one of the most popular alternatives in assessment, especially within a framework of communicative language teaching, is portfolio development. According to Jeunesse and Obsher in 1996, a portfolio is a purposeful collection of students' work that demonstrates their efforts, progress, and achievement in given areas. Portfolios include materials such as essays and composition in draft and final form, poetry and creative prose, journals, diaries, and other personal reflections. Jadi portofolio salah satu alternatif yang paling populer dalam pengkajian atau dalam melakukan tes, terutama dalam kerangka pengajaran bahasa komunikatif adalah dengan pengembangan portofolio. Menurut Jeunesse dan Obsher di tahun 1996, portofolio adalah kumpulan karya siswa yang memiliki tujuan yang menunjukkan upaya, kemajuan, dan prestasi mereka di bidang tertentu. Yang termasuk dalam bahan-bahan portofolio yaitu esai, komposisi dalam draft bentuk akhir, puisi dan prosa kreatif, jurnal, buku harian, dan refleksi pribadi lain-lainnya. The characteristics of portfolios gives these potential benefits. 1. Promotes student-teacher interaction with the teacher as facilitator. 2. Provide tangible evidence of a student's work. 3. Offer opportunities for collaborative work with peer. 4. Individualize learning and celebrate the uniqueness of each student. Jadi karakteristik portofolio memberikan manfaat-manfaat yang potensial sebagai berikut. Yang pertama, mempromosikan interaksi siswa guru dengan guru sebagai fasilitator. Yang kedua, mampu memberikan bukti nyata dari pekerjaan siswa. Yang ketiga, menawarkan kesempatan untuk kerja kolaboratif antara siswa dengan siswa. Yang terakhir, mempersonalisasi pembelajaran dan menghargai keunikan setiap siswa.
Okay, everyone. Next is interview. Interview is one specialist kind of conference. Interview is an interaction in which the teacher presents a student with planned sequence of questions, listens to response, asks further questions, and record data. It is an opportunity for the teachers to probe the students' understanding of a topic in ways that cannot be used effectively with other forms of assessment. Interviewing students give the teachers data for modifying of enriching instructions and curriculum. Any two types of interview, that are unstructured interviews and structured interviews. We can using interview in the classroom, and the tips in making some steps for conducting reliable or when we can make valid interviews. The first, before the interviews, we can make plan carefully to the questions to be asked, selecting manageable materials. Consider the context that will make the students most comfortable to respond. Select the context to elicit. Create a data collection tool. Practice with the tool create. And during the interview, we must focus carefully to avoid distraction. And after the interview, we must review the notes gathered e-shape. They are the steps to make our interview valid or reliable. The subject matters of interview is clearly focused on the course and course objective. Content validity should also be upheld. Okay, the next alternative is observation. Observation is a direct means for learning about students, including what they do or don't know, and can or cannot do. It's a natural process of getting to know students by listening to them and observing their behaviors. Observations involve the teachers as an observers who notice when specific students' actions or behaviors occur or when they don't. The kind of observation that reads a formal presentation or any other prearranged performance in which the student is fully aware of some evaluative measures being applied, and in which the teacher scores or comments on the performance. The steps to carry out classroom with observations. The first step is determine the specific objective of the observations. Second, decide how many students will be observed at one time. And next, set up the logistic for making or monetize observations. After that, design a system for recording observed performance. Don't overestimate the number of different elements you can observe at one time. Keep them fairly limited. After that, plan how many observations you will make. and determine specifically how you will use the result. Maybe we have questions how to make observation valid or reliable. Um, I I want to share with you the steps that we can do if we want to make observations valid. The first, carefully define the behavior or skill plans to observe and develop a form of checklist in collecting your data. Second, practice observing the students and the planned behavior and skills. Third, get an expert. Fourth, provide opportunity for the observed students to show to the teachers the skill or behavior being observed. The fifth, record the observation immediately, and last, review the data after the observation. The designing a system for observations are recording our observations, anecdotal records, checklists, and rating scales. Anecdotal notes or records are a quick, open-ended way to record observations, describing what happened in the teacher's own words. To make an anecdote reliable and valid, we should define behavior, create a form for recording, and keep it factual by avoiding personal interpretation and emotions. After that, observation checklists are clear and concise lists of behavior that are used to assess a student's skills. The teachers observe the skills in a simple and straightforward manner, marking them as present or absent, correct or incorrect. Checklists are flexible options that can be used by the both parties. Way in using checklists: the first, observing academic skills; after that, observing psychomotoric skills and prosocial behavior, and the last, assess dispositions. The last kind of designing observation is rating scales. Rating scales is a tool used to observe student skills and behavior. Rating scales are a form of checklist that has been modified by adding descriptive words, number, or both to rate adequacy or appropriateness of a student's behavior. Any two types of rating scales that are descriptive and numerical. Okay, thank you.